I'll just share this linked on the old Facebooks.
We're going live on your Facebook. Do you do YouTube also?
Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube.
Cool.
So if people hop into the YouTube, they can actually interact in the comments.
That's cool. Yeah, I did a podcast like a month ago with an old client of mine who moved to Thailand, and he does like meditation retreats and whatnot. And we did the exact same thing. He like live streamed it. I was trying to find your YouTube, but there was the bodybuilder kept popping up.
The bodybuilder. Oh.
I figured you might be familiar with that. I'm sure.
Yeah. It's either the baseball player or the bodybuilder. Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Dude, let's hop in. Jose Moralejo, is that correct? Is that,
you got it, man.
Right? All right.
Absolutely.
Jose Moralejo, welcome to Zero to Growth. So excited to have you on tonight.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat, man.
For those tuning in who might not have heard of you yet, can you give us a quick overview of what you do and who you help?
Yeah. These questions are always like, I had the thread that you commented on that we met over was one that kind of went a little viral there, but I had a different one where I was saying, I hate when people ask me, what do I do? Because my heart wants to say I'm a multidimensional being, an entrepreneur that holds space for other conscious souls to embody their wisdom and their truth so they can share it with the world and, share their healing wisdom. And 98% of people won't get that. So I'm forced to say like life coach or speaker or something in that regard because it just makes sense to them. But I mean, I'm not even talking to the 98% of people. I'm talking to the 2%. So I'm an entrepreneur. I have been doing this for like 4 or 5, I'm going into year 5 now. And what my main business, I have a couple different projects that I work with, but my main business is where I mentor my clients. I mentor conscious entrepreneurs, people that are, even if they're an entrepreneur, right? Someone who works inside of someone else's business via a job or something like that. They always have like more of a conscious way that they operate. It's not just like 9 to 5 or like their 9 to 5 isn't their identity or their life. And they want to use their spiritual genius, that genius level of interconnection that they can cultivate to be more effective in work, to live a more aligned life, which obviously you're going to make more money when you do that type of thing. So, and then just, healers, right? People that run their own mentoring programs. That's my main business, is mentoring clients. And, obviously I do YouTube, I do Threads and Instagram. And, I've been really heavy on Threads the last month or so. It's really, really fun platform. A lot of cool people on there, but yeah, that's what I do, man. I have a couple other entrepreneurial things that I work on as well. But, I like to think of myself as like a modern day polymath. Like I didn't realize that I saw the word polymath like 5 or 6 years ago. And I always thought it was something related to like mathematics or like, I don't know, physics or something like that. But come to find out, I actually looked into the word a little bit more a few months ago, and it actually describes me quite well. Like a polymath is someone who has a lot of expertise in a bunch of different areas. Think of it like a professional with ADHD. That's exactly what I am. I'm whenever I get interested in something, I want to study it fully. And so I'm an expert in a lot of different things, but I'm a master of just a few, right? I'm a master of myself. I'm a master of communication, to be able to communicate ideas to people. When you get into the entrepreneurial space, as you know, right? It's like, you got to learn how to sell and market yourself and close deals and be able to negotiate all these different things. So that's a little bit about me. That's who I am.
The skill of being able to talk to someone is hugely important, I think, in any line of work.
Yeah.
For those entrepreneurs who have been grinding, they're doing all the things, they've got their head down, why should someone who might have just clicked on this episode continue to listen in?
Well, success is not for everyone. So if you're interested in success and you want to become the best version of yourself, and you're the type of person who sees more for yourself and you want to bring more of that to the world, then, I say this humbly, I'm probably one of the best in the world at this. I don't have like 1 million followers. I don't have like a massive, massive platform. But if I compare the results that my clients get to some of the biggest people in the world, like hands down, like I'm one of the best. I've had guys and women go from 0 to 100K in 2 months, 0 to 100K in 4 months one of my clients last year, he made $72,000 the first month of working with me. So, it's not, I'm very spiritual. I'm very rooted in spiritual alignment and talking about the planes of existence and, the mental and the spiritual plane and how that corresponds to your physical reality and how to manifest and use law of attraction in your favor. But I'm also very pragmatic. I'm extremely practical with things. And so a lot of times people tell me that I am, a lot of the feedback that I get is that I have a very refreshing approach to the spiritual conversation, because a lot of times, like, when people talk about spirituality, there's a lot of different rabbit holes that you can go down. And what I see and feel is that oftentimes it gets like stuck in the spiritual realm, and it's very difficult to even like apply to your physical life, because having a spiritual experience it almost like destabilizes your life, and that's one of the things that I think a lot of like even the manifestation and law of attraction teachers that do have a lot of good things to say, it's like oftentimes they forget to tell people that when you become spiritually initiated, your current physical reality is going to absolutely crumble. Everything that doesn't align for you, which is, for the 98% of people, it's a lot of your life is misaligned for you. It's going to get ripped out. It's going to get absolutely yanked out of your life. And that's very destabilizing, So the transparency that I give to the spiritual conversation is something that I think is unique to me. And because again, I'm very rooted in pragmatism. Like, how does this actually apply into living a higher quality life? How can you design your lifestyle to where you have so much freedom that you can do whatever you want? And not just like financial freedom, I'm sure you talk about like financial freedom a lot, being, in the mortgage broker space and being into finances and stuff. A lot of people talk about financial freedom, but I also like to think about freedom in the sense of creative freedom to walk away from relationships that don't serve you, the freedom to walk up to people that could potentially serve your life and have a lot of fitment and alignment, and to be able to do so confidently, to be able to jump on stage in front of hundreds of people with zero nervousness and just deliver a powerful message, right? Like, there's so many aspects of freedom that people can tap into. And so, if anybody's listening to this and watching this, it's like, I think the thing that I give is like a refreshing approach. And some people absolutely hate me. They don't like some of the things that I say. They don't resonate. They don't align with it. That's totally fine. I don't care. Like, I'm interested in helping the people that actually want to be helped. And so if you're that kind of person, then, I think you get a lot out of this conversation, wherever it goes, whatever weird rabbit holes that we go down, I think they'll get a lot out of it.
No, that sounds great. And one of the things that I'm definitely interested in hearing the explanation of is the multidimensional being, and where you kind of coined that term for yourself.
Yeah. I didn't really like coin the term, but I've heard it just many, many times throughout the different spiritual communities that I've been a part of. And I spend a lot of time like studying the great thinkers of the world today, some of the great speakers, some of the most multidimensional beings. And so it's just kind of like it's a term that I've seen enough times that like I definitely identify with it. Multidimensional being means like we're in the third dimension in our physical body, and then there's the fourth dimension where time and space, right? So time and space are fixed in the third dimension. In the fourth dimension, space is fixed, but time is not. And then in the fifth dimension, space and time are both not fixed, which is when, if anybody's ever astro projected, or when you go into your dreams, like your dream state when you're sleeping, you're in the fifth dimension. You just have never heard of it in that way. And there's other dimensions as well that, if you ever hear from people that channel interdimensional beings, like are you into that type of stuff? Like, have you seen channelers?
I'm not sure what you might be referring to by channelers, but I am completely on board with the whole. I believed that I was a multidimensional being having a physical experience since I was probably about 15.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. Well, it's awesome that you recognize that, because that's every person. Every person comes to this world as a soul first, and the body is second, right? It's like people think that we're meat bags with a soul. No, it's the other way around. We're souls in a physical body. And really, a lot of this work of spiritual cultivation and remembering who you are is just that. You're remembering the fact that you're a soul first, and the physical expression of that is rooted in that multidimensionality. And so the way I like to articulate this even and communicate this to the world is like through business and entrepreneurship. That's like my skill set, if you will, like my physical reality, like best skill set, sales, right? Like I have 2 university degrees. One of them is in professional sales. The other is in entrepreneurship. I did 3 years of door-to-door sales. I was the number one high ticket closer at the previous company that I worked with like 5 years ago. I'll never have another job again, but the sales skill set is a tremendously valuable skill set. And oftentimes, like the most multidimensional people that I know, the most magical people that I know are incredible at sales, because something as like a byproduct of tuning into this is you're able to sort of feel out the other person and see where they're at. And it's almost like it gives you that sixth sense. Like you'll often hear, like, my third eye chakra is open so I can see things, right? And I think the actual like application of that is like you can almost see people in themselves even before they can. It kind of makes you like a ninja of talking, a ninja of communication. That's how I like to think about myself when it comes to doing any kind of sales call, or even when I coach my clients and I sit down with them and they're reflecting to me, oh, I have this challenge, I have that problem, I have that issue. And it's like, what's the actual thing? Let's go deeper. And I think by virtue of tuning into that multidimensional, that thing that you're talking about when you were 15, right? Like you became aware of this. It's like, it makes you better at these things. It isn't, being spiritual doesn't mean you disconnect from physical reality and you stay in the spiritual dimension. What it actually means is that you can tune into that dimension and get downloads of wisdom and downloads of guidance from God, from the universe, from the one source of consciousness that connects us all. And it allows you to operate within this physical reality from a place of like synchronicity, from a place of flow, from a place of ease, if you will. So yeah, that's sort of like how I think about it. Was that your experience with it? You just like tuned into this, like, and it just changed everything?
Oh gosh, I wish that was my experience. Actually, my experience was more of just realizing that there was something that I was just missing, and I actually ended up finding the gentleman who talked about it on a YouTube video. You would have seen this man and just been like, he's, kind of batty. Maybe not know what he's talking about. You might have been thinking all these things.
Who was it?
But after listening to some of the things he was saying and doing my own research, I was seeing that there was a lot more out there that we just weren't being told.
Who was it?
So, the 13th son.
Okay, I'm not familiar, but cool.
And so, what I realized was that it didn't really have a sort of spiritual awakening for me, but it just kept this nagging voice in the back of my mind, like, hey, there's something else you need to do.
Yeah, I just looked up real quick on YouTube the 13th son. I'm not familiar with him, but it reminds me of back in like, I was like 18 or 19 or something at the time. I'm 30 now, but I came across this YouTube channel of a guy called Quasi Luminous, and it was kind of like the same thing where it just really, really off the wall, nutty kind of guy. But if you take away like the crazy part of it, there's like so much truth that went into some of the things that he's saying. And he had some weird stuff going on that I didn't quite follow, and I'd never did it. Like he would do this thing where, oh, you have to spill your blood over intent. It's like some kind of like blood sacrificial ritual. I'm like, I ain't doing that part, but the knowledge and wisdom that he was dropping was like really spot on about how this reality works and how societal programming psyops people into disconnecting with themselves, and the symbology around all this stuff, and the fact that the elites that control the world all know this and deploy this information and deploy this knowledge against you. And so whether you like to think that it's real or not, like this whole thing of that there's these secret societies that are trying to control us. People think, oh, it's BS. That's just a conspiracy theory. It's like, I don't know, man. Like the entrepreneurial journey is kind of like a rabbit hole for becoming a conspiracy theorist. Like first you start off, it's like, I just want to make some more money. I don't want to work a regular job. It doesn't really align for me. It's like, I hate going into work and talking to a boss and having them tell me what to do. And then if I get in trouble, they send me to HR to reprimand me for my behavior, which is HR is just comprised of other humans enforcing policies and rules and whatnot. So you kind of go down this rabbit hole of like, I just want more freedom. So you get into self-help, you start reading books, and then you go a little bit deeper and you realize that there's like all of these inner resistances and blockages and these traumas that you have about maybe past experiences or how you show up in the world. And the fear of being seen is a huge one for people. Like to be able to either get on camera and speak or to walk up to a stranger that you have never met them before. And maybe it's an attractive girl. Maybe it's a man who looks like he has status and power and you want to network and connect. And people just don't do it because they're so afraid of being seen. They're afraid of looking foolish. They're afraid of not looking perfect. They're just riddled with limiting beliefs. So you go down this like shadow work, trauma healing, you get deeper into like the spiritual cultivation. Then you realize that we're all connected. We all have this like conscious experience, and we're all just fragments of this one source of consciousness that is God, that is the universe. And then you start to realize that, holy crap, like, holy shit, society is backwards. Society is literally backwards. Most people live their lives attached to this physical dimension. And even in the Bible, it says the riches aren't in earth, they're in heaven. And so you kind of go deeper down this rabbit hole, and then you start to question everything else. Like you start to question your upbringing, you start to question schooling systems, then you're questioning doctors, then you're even questioning history itself, you know? So I think it's, entrepreneurship is a gateway drug. I had another thread that went pretty viral about this. Like entrepreneurship is a gateway drug to becoming a conspiracy theorist to some degree. But yeah, it's like, I think any conscious soul or anybody who has more of like a spiritual inclination at some point has a moment in time where they're just like initiated into this different way of thought and this different way of being. And so it's cool that you had that too. Like most of my clients, most of the people in my circle, same thing, same deal.
So I'm sure you've worked with people from all walks of life at this point.
Yeah.
What patterns do you see in those who get stuck and those who manage to get past that barrier and achieve great results?
Yeah. Good question, man. Yeah, I've had all different types of clients. I've had famous TikTokers. I've had, seven-figure entrepreneurs. I've had people that are engineers. I've had musicians, all different types of people. It's not like typically in the coaching space, it's like oftentimes you get a bunch of other coaches that run their kind of like transformational business that want to learn what you did. So there's a good subset of my clients that do that. But I've had like tech consultants, entrepreneur, like different other types of entrepreneurs, engineers, musicians, other types of influencers. And of all the things that, like, if there's a common pattern of all the things, it's really just confidence, right? And in order to actually be successful, confidence is an absolute must. I don't like to pigeonhole or make rules or make entrepreneurial success or even success or results dogmatic in any way, because I've just seen so many different ways that people become successful. Like I often say that there is no strategy for success. The best strategy is you. It's 100% authenticity and owning who you are. Because a lot of times what people will do, especially if they want to become, successful, which means something different for everybody. But when people want to be more successful, they think that they're missing something. So they start going on YouTube and looking up content and reading the books. And so they start trying to copy someone else's path and trying to like take that blueprint and stick it onto their unique life track. But the thing is, you have a unique life track. You have a path that is specifically designed for you. Call it destiny, call it your timeline, your reality that you're stepping into, and it's unique. And so you can take examples and comparison from other people's timelines, which is totally okay. But at the end of the day, you have to honor yourself, because what's going to work for someone else isn't necessarily going to work for you. Like I personally experienced this. I've spent like $250,000 on mentorship and getting the best people that I can find in the world that have a very specific knowledge base, and just downloading everything. Like I'm very studious. As much as I facilitate transformation in others, I'm a student myself. I study like all the greats. And over time, I've come to realize, and this is just a construct of life experience, is that the more I try to copy someone else's path, the harder it got for me. The harder business got, the more I felt like I was going against the grain, like against myself, like one foot on the gas and one foot on the brake. And it's because I would try to apply the things that worked for them in exactly the way that they said it. And I was sort of going against the grain of my own intuition, of my own inner genius. And so a lot of times, like even what I help my clients on is I'm helping them to unlock their own inner genius, which, self-mastery, because when you master yourself, you master your reality. And from a place of mastery over your reality, you have 100% confidence. And so if there is a dogmatic rule in entrepreneurship or success, it's like confidence. And confidence is one of these things where people think of, like, if you think about the the most confident people, like oftentimes people will think Tony Robbins, right? Like jumps on stage and just has all this energy, you know, or like, I don't know, like an Andrew Tate, right? Doesn't give a fuck about anything and he's super rich because of it. And that's one version of confidence, but that might not necessarily be what confidence looks like for you. That certainly isn't what it looks like for me. I can jump on stage and do all the theatrics and bring some energy as well, but I'm more of like an introvert. I'm more like laid back. I'm more relaxed. I'm more chill. You know, I like this. I like this, you know, where we can just have like an intellectual dialogue back and forth. And the more I tried to play the Tony Robbins thing, it's like it felt incongruent, you know? And so the way I like to frame confidence is it's not necessarily like being louder or being more expressive or taking up a ton of space. It can look like that. But really what it is like self-trust and calmness. Like when you're calm and certain in yourself, the self-trust gets communicated. Because when you trust yourself, you're massively confident. You can embrace uncertainty or take risks that the 98% of people aren't able to tolerate because they have no confidence, right? Like even if you look at the word confidence itself, the etymology of the word, there's two parts to it, confidere. And so the Latin root of con means to share, like with, like share, and fidere is trust. And so literally the word confidence doesn't mean be louder, you know, it means to share your trust in whatever way feels best for you. And you'll know this to be true. It'll be like a secondhand nature, unconscious competence of anybody listening to this, right? Like it'll be a secondhand thing that you just do automatically when you know yourself. And so that would be like probably the biggest thing that I see as like a pattern that holds people back. It's like they just don't have confidence, like the real word of like what actually confidence means.
How can someone go about starting to build that confidence and building that trust in themselves from that first brick?
Yeah, it's a process of self-inquiry. Inquiry. I hate that word. Inquiry, right? It's a process of analyzing yourself, taking accountability, being responsible for your reality, being responsible for your results, and just asking yourself really tough questions, challenging questions that the vast majority of people never answer. I can't tell you how many times I'll sit down and I'll talk to someone and I'll ask them basic questions about like who they are. It's like, what kind of man or woman are you? What beliefs would you be willing to die for? What are you here to stand for? What's your purpose? And what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? If everything in your life was going exactly the way you wanted it to, what kind of lifestyle do you want to live? How much money do you need to be making per month in order to support that lifestyle? And people have no idea. Like people never sit down to like ask themselves these questions. And if you don't know the answer to these questions, well, of course you're going to be confused about where to go. It's kind of like, think about it like this. When you don't know the answer to some of these questions or where you want to go in your life, it's kind of like going to a gun range with the lights off. Are you going to be able to shoot the target? No, like maybe you might get lucky and hit the target. But the thing is, you're at a tremendous disadvantage to someone who has the lights on. It's as simple as that, right? So figuring out how you want your life to specifically look like is like turning on the lights in the gun range. Now you can see the thing that you can point and shoot, boom, done, you know? And I have a lot of friends that are cops and, you know, FBI agents and whatnot. And so they know, like they understand the reference of what I'm saying here, right? And so I feel like life is a lot of the same way. People just don't self-reflect. People don't know themselves. I recorded a YouTube video recently. It's my best performing YouTube video since I've been, you know, creating videos, best performing video. And one of the things I said on there is that most people, one of the worries that people have is the opinions of others. And because of this, they fear the relationships, like they fear being alone, or they fear walking away from relationships, or they feel initiating relationships that are more in alignment with what they actually want out of their life. And the problem with this is that most people don't have any kind of self-analysis or self-reflection. And so what they are is just fragments of themselves, of all the things that they've collaged together in order to impress other people. It's like they're not even themselves. They're just a reflection of what they think other people would like or what society would deem acceptable. And so a lot of this work of connecting with yourself and becoming a master of yourself is like almost ripping off everything you think you know about yourself, which is very like, I don't know if you've ever been through that kind of process yourself, but it's like, it's very destabilizing in the present moment, because then you're just like, oh, holy shit, like, well, who am I? Like, what do I stand for? Like, why am I here? Like, what even is my name, for example, right? Like, your name isn't Chris. That was a label given to you by your parents. You didn't choose it. I mean, unless you like illegally changed it or whatever. I have clients that have done that, right? I have one of my closest friends, and he's actually a mentor to me now. I don't know. Have you ever? Do you know Kaizen Asiadu?
No.
Okay, he's a really good friend of mine. Was a client of mine years ago, and he has blown up talking about like politics and cultural changes. And um, he his original name was Derek, and he changed it to Kaizen, right? Because of this like deeper analysis and connection to self. He's like, Kaizen aligns more with me, you know. And the most people don't do that. Like, most people don't even recognize the fact that everything that you know in your reality is just a label, right? You only know everything by the definitions and meanings that you give them. Humans are meaning making machines, right? It's like, what is this? Is a microphone, right? But that's just a label that we give to this. It's a collection of metals and wires and different things that you can speak into, and now you can hear me crystal clear, right? But that's just a label that we gave it. You're the same exact thing. Your name and what you do and who you think you are is just a label for you to. It's like a mental processing thing, right? It's like it. The thing about this is, like, being a conscious person takes up a lot of mental bandwidth. It's almost like you go to the gym, obviously, right? It's like, to go to the gym and consistently keep on muscles, it's like you got to be disciplined and consistent with it, and it takes up energy and you have to dedicate time. Well, being a conscious person is a lot of the same way, because you like overload your mental bandwidth with all these questions and whatnot, but over time it becomes effortless, right? You're just a conscious, tuned in person. It doesn't feel like this. It doesn't feel like you're lifting 3 hours a day at the gym every single day kind of thing. It's just kind of like you tune into this naturally. The same way, it's like, probably, I would assume, since you're built, going to the gym for you is not a big deal, right? Are you waking up every day like arguing with yourself, like, I don't know, I don't know, I'm just gonna rest it? No, you just get up and go, right?
Funny you mentioned that. This is actually a interesting time for me, because I actually haven't worked out in a couple weeks, after shifting my schedule around or whatnot. But when I was working out consistently, it was prep your stuff the night before, get up and go.
Right.
Because once you're out the door, it's like, you know, all that resistance that I had towards actually getting out and doing the thing just melted away once I was outside. And the days that I might not have gotten outside to run for whatever reason, or gotten that time to do my workout, I was sitting there and felt like my energy just wasn't where it needed to be. And so it just became like working out was just something I did.
Yeah. Right. You just kind of got up and go. You do your prep, and maybe you take your pre-workout and your supplements and all that stuff. But it's like you just get up and go. Were you an athlete? Like, what did you do?
I was actually never involved in any sports. I have always just been very physically active. Always wanted to work out, test my strength, just do everything that I possibly can, because I want to get to the point where I'm 80, 90 years old and still be able to walk just fine. I can walk with my kids through the park. I can do all these things that I wanted to do in my youth because I took care of my body to get here.
I love that. I'm the same way. I want to live to at least 106 years old, because that would mean I would make it to the 22nd century, but because I was born in 1994. And by the way, great genetics. If you haven't gone to the gym in weeks, and like you got your shoulders in traps and stuff, great genetics. I'm the same way. Like, I hold muscle density like crazy. I've been consistent in the gym since I was 15 years old. Literally half my life I've been, I used to wrestle. I was ranked number 10 in the state of Florida in my weight class in wrestling. And then in college, I wrestled a little bit, like on the club team, and, kickboxing, some MMA, but yeah, mostly just lifting, just staying super, super active. But eventually, yeah, when I first got into working out and doing wrestling practice and all that stuff, it was super hard, because it's like, especially then, it was hard because it was like I was cutting 20, 25 pounds, not eating, having to train for 3 hours a day, then show up to a tournament completely malnourished and dehydrated. And, you weigh in, and within an hour and a half, you're already on the mat, like wrestling 6-minute matches, which a 6-minute match might not seem long, but it's the equivalent of sprinting 5 miles. if you go like a full 6-minute match with like a tough opponent, So it's like I had this discipline muscle built in, so that way, like now, it's like I just get up and go. Like I'm just like, oh, time to go to the gym. Let's go. Like I'm not here like, how most people are, that they're not disciplined in that category of their life. And I say this as a juxtaposition of even just a consciousness of being like a spiritually awakened person who sees between the lines. It's like ripping off all these labels is very chaotic to a mind and a soul that is forgetful, but eventually it becomes just like your default nature. You just get it. Kind of the same way with like meditation. I don't really meditate that much anymore now. And I used to hear like 10 years ago, I would hear Gary V. You know Gary V, right? I think
Yes.
everyone kind of knows him. Yeah. He used to talk. I used to hear him say this. It's like, I don't like, someone asked him in the audience, like, oh, like, what's your routine for mindfulness? Like, do you meditate? And he's like, no. I'm like, wait, what? Like, how do you stay mindful without meditation? And he would say something like, yeah, like the effect of being mindful and like present to the moment, I'm like that all the time. So I don't feel the need to meditate. And it took me a long time to really like integrate that, but I get it now. It's like I barely meditate. It's like every single moment to me is sacred. Every single moment to me is blessed. I pray before every single meal. Every time I wake up in the morning, I'm praying with gratitude to God and to the universe for my life and for every single moment that I have. Every single video that I make, I pray with an intention to bring my genius forward, to enlighten others to their genius. Even before this podcast, I sat down for a few moments, just like my intention is for this conversation to feel flowing, to feel comfortable, to feel refreshing, to feel effortless, right? And so it's like eventually it's really tough to like go on this path. Like the path of self-mastery is difficult, but it's only difficult because we've been programmed to be forgetful. But once you remember that, it's like it becomes there's nothing else to do. You just do it.
So circling back to the meditation, how can we really start to live in the present moment and stay embodied in the present and the things that we're doing, just staying present with our loved ones, even with the minuscule tasks where we, might, for instance, going to the bathroom. A lot of people bring their phones to the bathroom, and that's just one instance of you separating yourself from yourself, essentially.
Yeah, I definitely do that. Yeah. Yeah. So how does one stay more mindful and present to the moment? Well, it just kind of like it's a perspective shift, you know? Like if you really understood how limited our existence is. I was watching a podcast with Naval Ravi. I can't pronounce it. I can't remember his last name, Ravikant or something like that. He's like a famous speaker and entrepreneur, and he was talking about this of just like this absolute, almost like not. I wouldn't say like nihilistic view of like how limited time is, but it's actually extremely positive. It's very optimistic, meaning that when you recognize the finality of our life, like one day in the next 100 years, in the next 100 years, hopefully for me and for yourself as well, right? It's like you're gonna no longer be alive. You're gonna transcend this dimension and go into the next. And within 200 years, and for most of us, it's even sooner. Like our great grandkids are probably not going to even know our names, and we're one being, one human on a planet of 8.6 billion humans in a solar system of 13 planets. They're like discovering more planets in our solar system. Like I just found out the other day that there's a planet between Mars and Jupiter. It's like, wait, wasn't that the asteroid belt? No, there's a planet called Ceres that's in between Mars and Jupiter. So it's like, okay. But that's just one solar system in a galaxy, the Milky Way galaxy, of millions of other solar systems, in a universe of trillions of other galaxies that's infinitely expanding. And so it's like when you have that perspective of just, wow, nothing really matters. Like it genuinely doesn't, right? Whatever challenge or problem that's robbing you of your mindfulness and your gratitude of the moment, it literally doesn't matter on the grand scheme of things. Now, on the micro level, yeah, absolutely everything does matter. Reality is dichotomous, meaning that there can be two truths that are describing the same thing, the same experience, the same sensation, And they might be polarizing. They might be on different ends of the polar spectrum, but they're equally valid, right? So as much as nothing matters, everything also matters as well. Every little interaction, every little creation that you make, every single moment is divine and sacred in its own way. And by recognizing the fact that nothing really matters on the grand scheme of things, we're just a speck of dust floating through the universe, right? It's like you'll naturally have a greater respect and reverence for the present moment. And, people use a bunch of different modalities and tools like meditation or journaling or reading books or doing other kinds of like inner child work or shadow work exercises and breath work and all these different things to like help them to be more present to the moment. And that's cool. I'm totally for that. That's called a permission slip. When you meditate because you want to be more mindful, it's like you're giving yourself the space to slow down, to give yourself permission to enter into the present moment. And all of that is all that's cool. And you can just be present with one breath, with one moment. You come back into the moment. And so if anybody's watching this and it's like the struggles and the hard times and all the things that you desire, the success, the status, the accomplishments, it's like when you let those things go and you just enter into the present moment and you come from a place of self-mastery and you just communicate your inner genius to the world, that alone will effortlessly create the results that you want in the first place. So it's really interesting how we come full circle with this conversation, because I mean it's kind of the truth. I'm a man of pragmatism, like I said, but yeah, I think that mindfulness is really it starts with a perspective shift.
Do you have a lot of clients who come to you and maybe the change that they're trying to make, sometimes they might actually be out of alignment with this thing, but sometimes they're just resisting the change that's necessary? And so how do you determine whether you are resisting the change or whether you're actually out of alignment, you should be trying something else? And how would you figure that out for yourself?
Yeah, like I'll get a lot of clients that want a lot of material success, money, success, cars, like all that type of stuff. And as we go down these lines of questioning, it turns out they don't actually want those things. They were programmed to think that that's what they want, right? Like especially for the young men out there. I mean, really, men of all ages. But it's like, oh, like I need a hot girl, I need a supercar, I need a big mansion, all these different things. And those are cool, like totally go, those are awesome to have. And also, if you go down that line of questioning that I mentioned earlier, right? It's like, what do people actually want? People want to feel safe. People want to feel loved. People want to feel like they're contributing something meaningful to the world. People want not necessarily billions of dollars, but they just want the freedom to never stress about money ever again. They want the confidence and the creative freedom to create something that is meaningful to them. And a lot of times the thing that is getting in the way of them doing that is the fact that they want this other stuff, you know? And so I get them to shift out of wanting those things, or not even shifting out of it, because you can have them if you want, if that's what you genuinely want, but also to like become detached from them. That's ultimately like, if you want to know the secret to like manifestation and law of attraction, it's not sit and visualize and it'll happen. It's visualize and think and feel as if it was already happening to you, and then let it go. Detach yourself from it. Go into your reality and go take action and go execute in the world from a place of doesn't even matter. Like, who cares? You already, let me drive this point home. I often tell my clients, it's like, they'll write down, oh, I prayed for this thing and it didn't happen. Like, oh, what's going on? Am I doing it wrong? And am I not worthy? Right? Like that's a lot of times people get into like the whole manifestation conversation because they want to create something and they have this desire, but the desire isn't happening. And so they think that they're not good enough. They think that they're doing something wrong. They think that God hates them or something. Right? And it's like, I often say this in a joking manner. It's like, do you think God is that stupid that you have to ask him over and over and over again? You just ask him once. You just ask God one time. And you pray not from a place of begging God, hopefully this, please give me this thing, give me the relationship, give me the income, give me the job, give me the business idea, give me the inspiration or whatever. But you pray from a place of gratitude as if it already happened. God, I'm so grateful. Even if it's not happening, right? God, I'm grateful that I just have so much wealth in my life. Because by the way, wealth isn't just about money. It's about the wealth of health. It's about the wealth of relationships. It's about the wealth of energy, the wealth of confidence that you have. All those things create wealth of money in the first place. Spoiler alert, right? But but you pray from that frame. It's like, it's really interesting how the universe starts to open up to you. It's really interesting how you start to recognize and observe opportunities that were right under your nose the entire time, but because you were so attached to how you thought it was supposed to show up or where it's supposed to come from, you actually sabotage your own manifestations, right? A lot of manifestation and becoming a conscious being who effortlessly creates your reality is more about getting out of your own way rather than doing X. It's not about doing more. It's actually about less, as they say in sales, less is more, right? And it's kind of the same thing with reality. And so a lot of the thing that blocks your clarity, blocks your vision, blocks your confidence is really you being attached to the outcome and hyper fixating on where it's supposed to come from, in what time frame it's supposed to come from what outlet it's supposed to come from. When if you just let that go and you just operated from the world from a place of like experimentation, it's like, I'm just seeing where my heart calls me to go, like literally unapologetically just following your heart and seeing where that takes you. And I'll give you a perfect example from my life. Like a few years ago, I had this heart calling to, I was doing door-to-door sales, utterly depressed. As good as I was at sales, I just wasn't performing well. I wasn't making any money. In fact, I lost money that summer and I went home like, I just need to get out of here, man. And quitting is not like in me, quitting is like a tremendous failure to me at the time, at least, because I viewed quitting as I wasn't good enough and I did something wrong and I didn't work hard enough, like the hustle bro culture of like, you just need to work 10x harder, and that's kind of the mindset I was in at the time. And so I left and I just felt horrible about myself. Like, man, like I must really suck at this. Maybe I'm not built for this. Maybe I'll just go back and get a regular 9-to-5 job. I just finished university, right? And I just sat with those emotions. I'm like, I'm going to come back home. I'm just going to chill. I'm going to like relax, go back to mom and dad's, just. And I took an opportunity to go do sales for like this, like a personal development company. And within a year, I was making 6 figures. And then because of that, because of the experience I got from that, and I, travel, I went all over Europe. I went to Europe for 2 months. I traveled all over the US. And it was like that one opportunity popped up so synchronistically, because when I got that job, I was, I had been following around that company, like the main influencers and speakers for that company for, they have massive YouTube channels. I've been following them around for a while, and they had a Miami pop-up seminar thing. And I went to that seminar and it was super small. Like I thought there was going to be like hundreds of people in the room. I'm like, all right, excellent networking. Let's see what happens, kind of thing. There was like 14 people, and it just so happened that the owner of the company ran that seminar, and he doesn't ever run seminars. Like he's usually behind the scenes, not really speaking that much, but he just happened to run this one. And he was saying that, yeah, this is like the 10th seminar I've ran in the last 20 years. It's like, oh, this guy literally does like one, he does one of these every other year type of thing. And so he just happened to be at this one. I started talking to him and he's like, wait, you did door-to-door sales? And I'm like, yeah, I did door-to-door sales. He's like, are you good? And I'm like, yeah, for sure. And in my mind, I'm like, I just fucking quit. I'm like, I just quit because I wasn't performing, but whatever. He's like, yeah, oh, you know what? Like, I'm going to put you in touch with our, COO and interview with him and see if we can bring you onto our team. That one opportunity changed everything for me because it unlocked all these other opportunities. And I almost didn't go to the seminar itself, like I had like $20 in my bank account. I had like no money. I had to ask my mom it was $47 to like lock in your seat for the seminar. And I had to ask my mom for that. And then driving my dad's car to the valet in downtown Miami, it was like $20 for the valet. So I'm like, all right, I guess I'm spending the last $20, And most people in that situation, I almost didn't go. And most people would have just been like, let me just hold on to this $20 so I can buy Chipotle tonight or something. And I'm like, let me just see where this goes. And that unlocked a bunch of opportunities in the aftermath to where I can do this. Right. So it's like, in that way, it's like, there's opportunity literally everywhere you go. And you don't have to be like a broke kid who's trying to figure himself out. This also applies directly to people that are already massively successful. It's like, in fact, a lot of times people that are massively successful but have no like connection to self or consciousness, it's like when you tune into that consciousness and you tune into that ease and flow of reality, it's like deals start popping up out of nowhere. I had a client that was running a 7-figure solar company, and he was like breaking his head, like, man, it's not growing. I've been stuck at 7 figures, right? And I started coaching him on mindset. It wasn't even anything business. It wasn't even anything business related. Like, he started working with me for like the ease and the flow and like sort of that part, that aspect of it. He wanted to be able to like branch out and network with more people, that type of thing. And as a byproduct of the mindfulness and the more attention to like the present moment, it's like he started doing 250K weeks. And that wasn't even part of like a goal that we had. It was just like, how do I like regulate myself so I can be more like chill, you know? And it's like the results are compounding at that point because you just have more resources and you have like more leverage in your life, so to say. But it's equally applicable to everybody. Everyone can have more ease. Everyone can have more flow. Everyone can chill out. You know. Sorry for my
That
long-winded rants, by the way. If you want to jump in at any moment, go ahead. You know.
No, you're dropping tons of value. I mean, one of the things that from the previous question I asked you, I mean, even a person just being the amalgamation of their past experiences, and then, you know, one day the light switch flips on and they're like, wait a minute, there's something nagging at the back of my head that I have to do. And then you just start, you know, you have to fight against all these years of programming. That's huge for people waking up to the entrepreneurial space. Because myself, I thought I was just going to get in here, make gobs of money super quickly, and ride off into the sunset. But I didn't realize that I was going to have to sit here and journal and learn about myself and ask myself difficult questions. It just wasn't part of the plan. And to tie it into what I think where you're talking about now is one of the things that I heard that I really like is you are exactly where you're supposed to be. And it's very easy for us to go, oh, I screwed this up. You know, if I could have done better in X, Y, and Z, maybe I could have been this much farther ahead, had this much money, whatever your goals are, whatever mistakes you might have made that slowed you down. But the way I see it is we have short lifespans, but we have very long lifespans. And if you want that thing at the end of the road, well, the universe, God, whoever you believe in, is going to put challenges to make sure that when you get there, you can handle that reward. And so you have to learn all these lessons along the way so that by the time you actually get the thing, you're more grateful for it, you're more appreciative of it, and you can just really bask in the work you've done and the progress and the growth that you've made.
Yeah. Yeah, beautifully said. You know, one of my favorite books is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. And have you ever read that book before?
I have not.
Yeah, I think a lot of people read it in high school because it was like assigned reading, but they didn't actually like read it for real. It's one of my favorite books because what you're describing is exactly what it is. Like, the whole story is, I'll try not to give out too many spoilers, but the whole book is about the main character, Santiago, who goes on this journey to find his treasure. And he goes through the desert and he gets beat up and someone steals his money, and then he gets stuck at like a shop for over, you know, a year or 2 years, whatever the time frame in the story is, and he has to go through the whole desert to get to a certain location. And it's just get knocks that he almost gets killed. Like, it's just a wild story. And then turns out the treasure that he was looking for was all the way at the beginning of the journey, which is like the crazy part, right? Like, the treasure that he was looking for, the money, the riches, was at a place in the very like first few pages of the book. And it's such a beautiful metaphor for life, because oftentimes we go on this like crazy entrepreneurial journey to make more money, and we want to desperately prove to the world how worthy we are and how important we are. And we're taught, especially in like westernized society, the United States, it's like we're super success oriented, hustle, grind, you know, work your way up the corporate ladder so that way at some point in the future you can have freedom. And if you're an entrepreneur, you need to grind 24/7 every single day, 14 hours a day if you want to like actually make it. And it's all rooted in mind, like structure, logic, frameworks, all systems, all those different things. And those are definitely important, right? But they're the additional component to the heart. The heart. What people need now more than ever is like healing. And it's really interesting that this is why I say it's like the entrepreneurial journey is like the gateway drug to being a conspiracy theorist, because when you eventually heal, then you start to realize how reality actually works and how backwards everything is. And kind of like I was saying before, even with mindfulness and being a more present human and even manifestation, it's not about doing more, it's about reconnecting with yourself. It's about getting rid of the resistances, sort of taking the chains, the heavy weights that all of us hold on our ankles, and allowing yourself to tune into a higher power. Not, yes, certainly in like God, but even you yourself. Like every single person is chosen. You are a chosen one. And to the disconnected soul, to the forgetful soul, that feels like, oh, I'm a chosen one. Why am I so special? It's like everyone is special. And in a certain way, no one is special because by virtue of that, right? But the that's really the whole journey of it in itself. It's like you spend all this time chasing and chasing and chasing, not realizing that you had everything you wanted in the first place. Like the love, the happiness that you feel, the fulfillment that you feel, the importance that you're looking for. It's like the importance part doesn't matter. What does matter is the love, the fulfillment, the connection to others, your family, your friends, the connection to the earth, spending time in nature, to share your art, whatever art that is, right? I have clients that run transformational businesses that are writing books and creating content. I have other clients that are musicians. I have other clients that are literal artists. They paint. And it's like those things are the thing that make you feel alive. It's really interesting how the vast majority of people are alive, but they're not living. And sort of the whole journey into entrepreneurship is like you chase, chase, chase. And even if you do get there, you realize that, oh, the thing that I was doing at the beginning was the reason, was the thing that gave me the deepest sense of fulfillment. I've experienced that personally. Like one of the, I don't know if I posted this thread yet, but I have this other idea that I'm like gonna publish at some point. It's like, it's no one prepares you for the spiritual warfare in entrepreneurship because it's real, you know? It's like, and it comes from two angles. One angle is you see all these people that cut corners and low integrity that do a bunch of scammy BS, and they get away with it. Like that's the crazy part. They get away with it. Like the whole grifter thing. I have some former business partners that did some like real shady stuff, like just blatantly lying to people. And I'm like it made my heart cringe. And they get away with it. They're still massively successful. They make tons of money. I just don't have it in my heart to do that to people. I'm very transparent. And that's one aspect. And I've seen people let that take over them, like that darkness that just I need to, like, I'm gonna be successful no matter what the cost is. And they not only, some people get away with it, other people completely ruin their reputations and literally sabotage themselves. So that's one aspect. But the other aspect is you get a taste of the thing that you wanted, and then you realize the person that you're becoming. That's basically what happened to me. It's like I got a huge taste of massive success. I was speaking on stages, traveling all over the place, and people liked it. Like that was the thing. Like it worked. It worked to some degree. But then I looked at myself and I'm just like, who am I becoming? You know, like it's almost like I abandoned my soul to some degree for money and success and attention and validation and all these different things. And I told myself, I'm going to walk away from this. And so really, like, even the vast majority of 2024 has been like a rebuilding, going back to the foundation of why I got into this stuff in the first place and rebuilding from that place of connection and consciousness. And it's really interesting. It's like that has made everything so much more flowing. This is what I mentioned earlier, where it's like you try to copy someone else's path, you get off of yours. And your path has the most ease and flow. It has the most synchronicity. It has the most effortlessness. And that's the kind of reality I like to live in. And interesting that you make more money when you do that in the first place. So yeah, I think your question and what your statement in that is absolutely sound.
Yeah, and I love that because it's like a lot of people, they see somebody who has all this success and all this wealth, and they're like, "Wow, I wish I was that person." But it's like you don't know what that person had to go through to get to where they are. And so not everybody is going to want to do that grind, 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 never look up kind of thing.
Yeah.
Um, it just doesn't fit everybody's personality. And I think one of the things that I have probably very graciously learned very quickly in this is that even if I were to make gobs of money, it would not have made me happy at all. I would have had to still do the personal development and fixing the little chinks in my armor of life to figure out what it is that I was really supposed to be doing, that I really wanted to do.
Yeah. Yeah. And, also too, it's like another part of the spiritual warfare that I just talked about now. It's like people change. When you actually start making money, people change. They, they almost like want to take and be a part of it, be a part of the fun, be a part of the excitement. And if you lead with that, and to be fair here, I was definitely leading with that. That's part of where, like, even I looked at myself and I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I doing? I'm literally becoming the person that I didn't want to become, So I had to spend some time to like reflect and disconnect from that. I don't consent to this kind of energy. I don't consent to the negative entities that are poking at me. Let me clear all of that. And nowadays I don't even talk about how much money. I don't mention money at all unless it's like a client that it like needs a specific piece of feedback. But I don't talk about it on the internet. I don't want that to be why people follow me or why people gravitate towards me. I want them to gravitate towards me not because of how successful I am and how much fun. Look how much fun I'm having, like trying to prove myself. I want people to genuinely feel the truth of what I'm saying in their soul, because to me, that's even the best flex in the first place. That people are interested in your mind and your words and your energy, not the thing that you're portraying to the world of what is deemed as successful or society deems as important. And the yeah, the to what you were saying about how even if you made gobs of money, it's like, yeah, you'll realize that it wasn't the thing that made you happy in the first place. As it says in the Bible, what good is it to gain the world but lose your soul, to lose yourself, right? And I think a lot of people do fall into that, and that's what I mean by people don't know themselves. They chase what society deems as acceptable, and I've met tons of people like this that are like massively successful, but it's like, dude, are you a human, bro? Like, can you be like a normal human being for a second here? Like, it's like you don't even know, like, you can't even trust the words that come out of their mouth to you, because it's like their entire identity is like a chess match. And as a conscious soul, as a conscious being, I saw that from a mile away, and like I tried to figure it out, and then I realized, no, there's nothing to figure out here. I already saw it from the beginning. What my intuition was telling me is that these people are full of BS, and that's not who I want to be around. And until someone like, this is often why they say don't meet your heroes, right? Don't meet the people that you're inspired by, because oftentimes, like, if it's like a rapper or like a celebrity or something like celebrity worship, you realize that they're actually kind of like shitty humans. I think there's some really good humans, and I've met a lot of very successful people that like are extremely magical and massively successful, and then there's also many other ones that aren't that, and those aren't the people that I want to be around. One other point on this, it's like, you also don't know, like, when you compare yourself to someone else's story, unless you know them very deeply, you don't know their actual story. They're telling you one version of it, but then you actually find out about what their actual journey was, and they have advantages that you don't have. So following their path makes no sense for you. Like, I'll give you an example. I had a friend who talks about, runs like a grifter kind of thing, like mentoring people. You want to be successful and rich, like, do my course, right? I hate the whole grifter world. It's like, it's pervasive at this point. Look how successful I am. It's like some like crypto scammer bro on like a Miami balcony in Brickell or something. Like, you want this, then buy my course kind of thing. And I played that role a little bit. So let's be fair, like, I played that role, and I look back at that, I'm like, ugh, like, you can go. All my videos are on YouTube and on Instagram. Anybody can go watch this stuff, and I leave it there on purpose to kind of see the difference, the dichotomy, right? But like, I had a friend. I wouldn't really say we're friends anymore, but that same guy who's like, buy my course. It's like, he has millionaire parents. Don't you think that would, like, and they've been millionaires. His whole story is, oh, I came from nothing kind of thing. It's like, bro, you have millionaire parents. What are you talking about? Like, you didn't come from nothing. You grew up in mansions, bro. Like, you don't have. I didn't grow up in mansions, And so me trying to copy people's paths like that, it's like, I don't have the same advantages that they do, right? Because they have a fallback plan where if it hits the fan, if shit hits the fan, they have a fallback. When you have that fallback, you can take greater risks. So basically means that you can kind of move a little bit faster. Not to take away from their genius. Some of these guys are incredibly intelligent. They're incredible marketers. I like to be fair here. Like, there is a level of genius that even the best criminals or the best scammers have to what they are doing, right? But also, I think it's unfair to like not be transparent about that. Me trying to copy someone's path, like, and a lot of people probably watching this are in the same boat, right? You see like some of these super famous and successful people that are like, do my program, and it's like they're buying into a program based on hype. That's what marketing is. They poke at your pain and make you feel insecure, make you feel like you're not good enough about yourself. And so you buy their thing. And then you get regurgitated content about confidence and success. And it's nothing personalized. It's nothing specific to you and your journey. It doesn't help you actually master yourself. And then you're left feeling like you got ripped off, right? That's why people reject the whole grifter economy now. And I think that we're graduating more to a conscious economy where people like me who actually see the genius in others and actually like pulls that genius out so they can live more powerful lives. Those are the people who are going to be like the future millionaires. Those are going to be the people that actually like lead the world forward. And so I think we're graduating into more of like a conscious state of just everybody is being more mindful about this connection to each other, this way in which we operate in this reality. And so that's really why like I walked away from all that stuff. I'm like, this is wild, you know?
I think the world is most definitely waking up. And for the people who are coming into that awakening, what steps can they take to start unlocking their own inner genius?
Go watch my YouTube. No, I'm kidding. What steps can they take? Yeah. I think the initial step is just being honest and taking like a cold hearted look at yourself, being objective about your reality and taking complete responsibility. I think one of the things that does make people more unconscious than anything is like this whole victim mentality that has been ingrained and programmed into us, right? With like the LGBTQ. So let's get political here, right? LGBTQ, like your sexual preference is a huge deal, or like you're black, so you've been oppressed. You know, it's like my friend Kaizen, who I mentioned earlier, he's black and he rejects all of this. Like, I'm oppressed and I have less advantage. Now, there's a dichotomous truth to this, right? Because obviously, it's like if you're a descendant from a slave, then that means you have less opportunity to some degree because your family was here for less generations. We can all agree to that. Like, we can all acknowledge the fact that there is a level of victimhood, but that you don't stay in that forever. You take responsibility. You take responsibility for your life, and I think that's the number one first step. It's like if you're the reason that the victim mentality doesn't work as a long-term strategy is because the world is not going to change for you. The world is as magical and as abundant as this reality is, and it's very supportive. You'd be surprised at how much synchronicity you can tap into and how generous God and the universe can be towards you. And also, it doesn't owe you anything. Dichotomous truths here, right? It doesn't owe you anything at all. And so you sitting here complaining that you're a victim, systemic oppression and all these different things. It's like, sure, we can always find justifications and reasons for why certain ideas and viewpoints are valid. But at a certain point, you have to take complete responsibility because no one's coming to save you. You have to save yourself. Like I can use the whole, I'm a minority, I'm Cuban, and my family came here to escape Cuban communism. And matter of fact, my family was extremely rich in Cuba. And from one day to the next, all the wealth gone. That's victimhood, man. That's the entire system changing overnight, and all of your wealth, your elite status is completely wiped away. And you have to go to a new country to restart. And then people want to tell me, oh, you're white passing. It's like, I mean, I got fair skin, It's really, the whole racial stuff is like really interesting to me. It's like in Miami, I'm in South Florida, right? And so like South Florida, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, people think I'm too white, so I'm not Hispanic, because Hispanics are like more tan and brown. But then I go to like other parts of the country. Are you Mexican? And then I go to Europe. It's like, are you Middle Eastern? It's like, really, So, my main point, my overarching point here is it's like you take back the reins of your life. Nothing affects your reality unless you consent unless you give it permission to. And if you are strong enough and formidable enough as a human to tolerate that pressure of like, it's all on me, you're going to do really well in life. You're going to become a leader. You're going to go really far. You're going to acquire skills and knowledge that the victims are here complaining and shaking their fist at the system and drawing graffiti on Teslas while you're here actually making a change in your own life.
fantastic. I mean, it's a no excuse mentality, because you can pull any excuse you want, but then you can go, yes, and it doesn't, none of the complaints serve you, even if they're true. You just have to work yourself out of whatever situation that you have been put in.
Yeah. And that is significantly easier to actualize when you are a conscious being. Like I said before, it's God is super supportive. And oftentimes it's the universe is supportive in ways that your mind doesn't understand, which is why we get like, which is why when your reality does crumble in on itself, people get all frustrated and disgruntled and they start to like give up on themselves and whatnot. But maybe God is protecting you the entire time. Maybe that relationship that you thought was going to be the one forever, maybe it wasn't. Maybe that wasn't the case. Maybe that was your mind projecting qualities and characteristics onto that person that didn't actually line up with reality. Maybe that business that failed or that job that you got fired from because of your lack of performance wasn't because you weren't good enough. Maybe it just wasn't aligned for your soul and you were trying to go against the grain. Maybe that idea, that creative inspiration that you took action on, the travel trip, whatever, the adventure that you went on wasn't as fulfilling as you thought it would be because you were playing into a projection of what your mind thought would be the most fun thing, right? A lot of people don't travel. A lot of people don't travel because they enjoy traveling. They do it to impress other people. That's the truth, right? It's like when you connect with yourself and you are a master of yourself, it's you can listen to your mind and have respect for it, but you become a more soul-led person. You become a more heart-centered entrepreneur, a heart-centered being. And that when your dominant frame of reality is coming from your heart, it's like that is where miracles start to happen. Like in the Bible, it talks about the faith of a mustard seed moves the mountain. It's like that is what it means. When you're a soul-driven person, the thing, the challenge, the accomplishment that seems like a mountain to other people is simply just a mustard seed for you. You could pick up the seed and move it where you want. That's where miracles are created. People think about when people think about miracles, they think about like Jesus walking on water or healing the sick or the fish turning 12 fish into like enough to feed 5,000 people or whatever. It's like miracles happen every day. Everything's a miracle. The fact that we're on this call right now is a miracle. Like we met over a social media app and we had a conversation. Now we're here talking, sharing some wisdom and sharing you as a reflection. You're holding space for us to have this conversation so we can co-create a moment where we share wisdom. And we have this phone. You can talk to anybody. We were on this one of my buddies, one of my closest friends just called me on this while we were on this podcast right now. It's like, how cool is that anybody that you love can contact you at any moment? How cool is it that you have running water and food in abundance? How miraculous is it that of the 400 million, I think it's 400 million sperm cells, you're the one that made it to the egg? Like everything is a miracle, and there's big miracles and there's small miracles. And, I think just when you live in that kind of reality, it's like life just flows for you. Life just responds to your vibration of gratitude because everything is vibration. Everything has a frequency to it. And the people that master reality aren't the loud, obnoxious ones that are hoarding away all their power. That's just what unconscious souls do. And it tends to kind of work a little bit in this reality. But if you're more like soul aligned person, it's like your frequency, your joy and your peace of mind and your gratitude for everything that you have is the thing that magnetizes all of your desires. And then you'll find that it's like you don't even care about the desires. And guess what? When you don't care, that's the most attractive energy, right? If you've ever been on a date with a girl and you're trying super hard to get her attention or get her to like you and trying to prove to her that you're the guy, you're the man, it's like she's like, she gets the ick. But when you're just like laid back and chill, you're like, yeah, you're just talking to a person. You're just talking to another human being. You're not trying to prove anything. You're just being yourself. A girl that's aligned with that would be like head over heels for you, So I love these kinds of conversations because it kind of comes together beautifully.
Yeah, I think we had some great point. I could keep going for
yeah. So can I? Usually people have to cut me off. We're like, all right, we've been doing this for 3 hours, man.
This will probably be an interesting one for you. Why do you think we are here having this physical experience?
That's a question for the man upstairs, you know. I think there's a lot of reasons, but the what's the purpose for life, right? Your purpose for life is whatever meaning you give it, and that can come in a myriad of forms. But I think as a collective, I think we're here to experience consciousness as itself. You know, in fact, the thread that you commented on that like we connected over was so someone emailed me for a podcast and they asked me for my pronouns. I'm like, I'm not doing this podcast, but I wrote my pronouns are genius, king, consciousness experiencing itself, and I think on an overarching theme here, that's exactly what it is. And the people that embrace that and lean into that, those are the ones that become the greats, right? The Jesus Christs of the world, the Buddhas, the Krishnas, the Isaac Newtons, the Albert Einsteins, the Leonardo da Vinci's, the Nikola Teslas. And as you become more of a multidimensional being, you start to recognize the consciousness and everything, that we're all connected to the one divine source. And every religion has its own interpretation of what that is, and that's totally valid and totally accurate. I think all religions are accurate to some degree, even though weird ones, like even the cultish ones or the satanic ones. I mean, that's what they think. You know, I don't agree with it, but in the highest truths and the highest levels of spiritual consciousness, they're all valid. And to experience that and live through that as a virtue of being a soul-led being, and to heal your trauma, heal your pain, so that way you leave a legacy, a world, whether it's the overarching world or your world, better than when you found it. I think that is like the overarching theme of our lives. And some people fulfill that and some people don't. Some people are destructive, degenerative, and that's cool. I mean, that's what your soul came here to do. And but I think in the grander sense of things, it's like to heal, to reconnect, to remember who you are, to remember your soul, and to remember that we are all a part of this ocean of consciousness and we're all just droplets of it. And that can come in the form of it. And that's really what I help people with. It's like I help them reconnect to that source and then to express it in the world in their own unique way. Some people do it through music. Other people do it through their family. Other people do it through speaking. Other people do it through business. Other people do it through their inventions. Other people do it through us, I don't know, a service that they provide to the world. Other people do it through retreating into the woods in a cabin and never talking to anybody ever again. Right? That's the beauty of like the human experience. You can do whatever you want with it. So that's what I think we're here for to some degree.
I love that answer. That's spot on with what I think.
What do you think? What do you think?
I think we're here to learn a lesson. And I think until you actually figure out what lesson it is that you're actually here to learn, and maybe that is just leaving the world better than you found it, but I think that you'll have to keep repeating this physical existence. Maybe it is by your choice and you just don't remember it, or maybe our memories are wiped coming into this. But I think the overarching thing is there's something that we're all supposed to learn. And until we figure that out, we'll keep repeating these cycles.
Yeah. Like the reincarnation conversation. That's a really interesting one. Yeah.
Well, before we close up, the last guest has left a question for you.
Okay.
Can you name all of the native lizards in PA?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to pull up ChatGPT for that one, bro.
I would be very impressed if you did. There's 4. It is the eastern fence lizard, the northern coal skink, the common 5-line skink, and the broad-headed skink.
Interesting. Okay. All right. You're in PA?
Yeah.
What part?
South PA, about as south as you can get. I'm like right on top of the Maryland border.
Okay, cool. That's close to Philadelphia, right?
Oh gosh, no.
No?
Probably about 3.5 hours from Philly and Pitts.
Oh, that's okay. Yeah, I have some good friends that are from Scranton.
Okay. It's probably 2 hours maybe.
Okay. Yeah, that's where Joe Biden's from. They're not very happy, but cool. Do I have to leave a question for the next guest?
Yeah, absolutely. You can give it to
Okay.
me now, or you can give it to me afterwards.
I'll text it to you. I don't know. I want to ask something. That's that's a funny question. I'll think of something. I'll text you. I'll text it to you.
All right. Well, Jose, where can people go to keep up with you and find out more about what you're working on?
Yeah, YouTube, Threads, Instagram, TikTok. Just type in my name, Jose Moralejo. I'm one of the few in the world. Very unique last name. But yeah, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, TikTok.
Perfect. Guys, if you got value tonight, share it with a friend. Leave your takeaways in the comments. Give it a like. Go follow Jose. I mean, I got tons of value. I honestly want to get coaching from you now. I just felt like we had a great conversation, great connection. But dude, thanks again for sharing your time, sharing your wisdom, and coming on tonight.
I appreciate you, man. Thanks for holding some space to have this deep dive.
Absolutely. Until next time, friends.